Hey, what's up? This is Greg. Stop me if you heard this one before. My sciatic nerve is just acting up again. Are you having issues bending forward, sitting for a prolonged period of time? Man, that sucks when you have sciatica. Sleeping at night, getting that burning pain running down your leg, could be going to the foot, kind of getting some numbness in your feet. Those things commonly associated with the sciatic nerve, and we just kind of globalized term that as sciatica. The problem with that term, and it's short-sighted in the fact that we don't necessarily know what is causing those symptoms to be occurring in the first place, because the sciatic nerve ultimately starts in the spine. So you kind of see this picture that I drew here, poor stick figure drawing, but starts in the spine, then that sciatic nerve kind of teases out through the hip, runs all the way down to your foot. So anywhere along that track, that sciatic nerve could become irritated. So it doesn't necessarily tell us what is causing the irritation. It could be from your back, could be from your hip, or it could be from the nerve root actually having a increased sensitivity to movement and tension. That can also happen as well too. Your nerves need to be able to have the mobility to move and accept tension or stretch just like a muscle. And when there's pain on board, ultimately the nerve becomes a little bit more sensitive and it doesn't necessarily like the tension developing, which is why sitting hurts, is because you are compressing the nerve root, you're decreasing blood flow. Nerves like three things: they like movement, they like blood flow, and they like space. You're taking away some of that when you sit down, and when you're putting pressure on the sciatic nerve. It's no different than sitting on a hardwood chair for a long period of time. You have to kind of shift butt cheeks from one side to another to kind of offload some pressure. When you're in pain and the nerve root is extra sensitive, you're going to have to shift butt cheeks a lot quicker, because it's not really very comfortable to compress it, because nerves don't like compression. So again, why we need to get the body to be a little bit more adaptable, used to moving, decrease some of the sensitivity of the nerve root. So here's some quick things that you can kind of try, look for, and to understand what may be a little bit bigger of the cause of your symptoms going on. Now, one thing you'll commonly see people do is you'll commonly see people either kind of rolling it out, putting pressure across that area, or you'll see people kind of stretching their hip into rotation because it feels good at the particular point in time to stretch or apply pressure. Now, what you have to keep in mind is that that pressure or that stretch can still create compression to the nerve root, and that compression to the nerve root ultimately, like we talked about, nerves like three things: they like space, they like blood flow, and they like movement. So you're taking away movement because you're just sitting there in a stretch, or you're sitting there on a lacrosse ball or something, so you're not moving. You're compressing the area, so you're decreasing space by putting something on stretch or by applying pressure to a particular area. So the nerve root isn't going to necessarily like that. So why do we kind of constantly do those things? The only reason why those things feel good is because they're changing sensation at that particular point in time. It's no different than if you hit your thumb with a hammer and you rub it and it feels a little bit better. You're changing the sensation to change the perception of pain at that particular point in time. So it doesn't necessarily provide you a solution, because the moment you stop rubbing your thumb with after you hit your thumb with a hammer, the moment you stop rubbing it, it comes back, you get all the pain back again. You didn't solve anything at that point in time. It's no different with these treatments to stretch and to apply compression or pressure through that area. It gives a change of sensation and pain at that moment in time, but ultimately it comes back and it doesn't fix the root cause of things. Now, there is a certain subset of people who do need to become more mobile, and stretching may benefit them in a particular way, but hanging out in that position for a long period of time is probably not a good idea. There's also another very common subset of people who actually have enough range of motion and they do not need any more range of motion, where stretching is really not going to do them any type of good. So you have to kind of look at that spectrum there and see, okay, do I have enough hip range of motion, or do I need to have more hip range of motion? If you can get your leg easily to 90 degrees and kind of get in that pigeon stretch position that you see so many people do for a piriformis stretch, you probably don't need to aggressively push yourself any further than that. So that is good enough. There's probably another quality that you need to be striving for, which is actually tends to be the opposite direction, which is internal rotation.